My name is Brianna, and I am a homeschool mom of two, pretty new to homeschooling. It's only been about a year, and we are in Minnesota, so sorry in advance for the accent. I don't hear it myself, but I hear it is pretty thick, so enjoy. If you see me looking down, I have my notes here. So these are the 5 things that I learned in my first year of homeschooling. So number 1 is there are so many different curriculums to choose. I had no idea. And this kind of goes along with a lot of researching and tweaking the curriculums you do. So we started with the good and the beautiful. And we are more of a secular family, but I just kind of didn't really know the difference. And I didn't know that there was, secular and non-secular curriculums out there. So we started with that, and we really liked it for pre-K. And then we also did it for kindergarten prep and liked it. I got the kindergarten language arts book and the kindergarten math program. And that's kind of when I started to see the big differences. And there was just a lot more involved with the kindergarten curriculum, whereas like pre-K and K prep was all like, here's the letter, here's the sound it makes, here are these numbers, and here are these colors, right? And the kindergarten book was like just much heavier it was beautiful, but it was like photos and just, it felt really choppy. It was like, all right, now we're going to do a tiny bit of writing and a tiny bit of reading that you should have practiced beforehand and known, and whatever. That's a whole different video that I've already gone through. But as I was saying, there's so many different curriculums to choose from. And we ended up kind of piecing together curriculums, which I think a lot of people end up doing. So we do a different program for our reading and phonics, logic of English, and we do Singapore dimensions for math, and we do handwriting without tears for writing, and we do a poem book for poetry and drawing. They draw the poem that we read. And so we pieced together a lot of different curriculums, whereas when I began, I was like, okay, homeschooling for first grade, give me one book. And you can do it that way, but that is just not how we ended up doing it. My number 2 is that it is not always picture perfect. And I think a lot of channels I see that do like day in life, and a lot of different things I hear are just like, oh, we have like the most perfect day ever, and my kids always listen and do XYZ. And that is not how it always is. It's real life, and it's not always perfect. And some days are fantastic. Some days my kids are like, hey, let's do school so then we can go play. And they listen perfectly. And then other days they're like, I'm sick, can we skip school? And that's just how it goes. And some days I'm tired. Some days the baby kept me up all night. And so I'm like, all right, you know what, we're going to take the day off. But that's also kind of the beauty of it, that we can do that. But yeah, I mean, that also goes hand in hand with like us as parents, and as a mom, we don't get a lot of free time. We are not sending our kids on a school bus from 7 to 3 or 4 p.m. and having that time to be at home or be at work or whatever you do. You're always mom, you're always on the clock, you're always here to answer your kids. Love that. But it is a little bit tough to not have free time. Our free time is kind of limited to when the kids go to bed, really. I mean, I love it, but there's just not a lot of time off. And also with that is a little bit of like reluctance sometimes. My kids really flourish in math. They love doing their math. They're both grades ahead in math. Love doing it. It comes easy to them. Handwriting, not so much. Handwriting, they're really reluctant to do because it's not easy for them. So I take it at their pace, and we're making sure that we, are able to do each letter correctly before we move on to the next letter. and they don't love it. And so they complain about it, and I try to find ways to make it fun and not so tough to do. But I do get a lot of reluctance in that category for sure. I'm trying to think. I'm looking over at some of my school books, what other areas I get a lot of reluctance in. They like the logic of English. They actually really love that. Like, sponsor me, please. I don't think they even do that, but I talk about it in almost every video. Yeah, I'll probably do another video about that. But yeah, there are definitely, I mean, just sometimes school in general, they're like, I don't really feel like doing that today. I just want to play. And some days, I let it slide. I'm like, yeah, we can afford a day off. And other days I'm like, no, we have to sit down and do our school, and then we can have so much fun. So there's a balance there. And then finding, this is all number 2 still. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Finding what fits for your family. So a lot of people are teaching 2, 3, 4, whatever, different grade levels. So it can get a little bit challenging. I myself am teaching 2 different grade levels. I'm teaching kindergarten and first grade right now, and it is going really well. But it can be tough to find what fits without making your days stretch into like these super hours and hours and hours long, especially when they're that young. So what we found to do is a family loop schedule. So we do our math, our reading, phonics, our handwriting, like some of our poetry stuff and whatever else every day. And then on a loop schedule, we have like our anatomy, our science, our social studies, our coding, our art, all those kind of things are on a loop schedule. So we have them as like Monday, coding and art. But like if we don't get it to Monday, we'll just do it on Tuesday or Wednesday or something. But we do those as family subjects. So the kids are both doing the same workbook or the same lesson or project or whatever it is. And I mean, they're kindergarten and first grade, so they're close enough that they can do that. I know it can be a lot more challenging if you have like a first grader and a 4th or 5th grader, but my kids are so close in age that we can get away with doing, first grade coding for both of them, and they're both following along with it just fine. So that's what fits for us. Not picture perfect is what number 2 was. A lot of information. Number 3 for us is juggling flexibility with our schedule. So that is kind of like juggling our free time and our time off with also staying on routine and staying on track. So we do school throughout the summer. We don't take a Christmas break per se. However, we do take a week off kind of whenever we feel like it. So I mean, I've said this in other videos, but it was super, super rainy and stormy for a whole week. And then it was beautiful and sunny the next week. And so we took the week off because we could afford to do that. And my kids were still on track. And I mean, it's just a tough juggling act sometimes. So, you don't want to break that routine with having too many days off, because then that first day back is extra hard. But yeah, I mean, that is maybe the number 1 for me, is just juggling that a little bit, because I do like to stay on routine. But sometimes we don't feel very good. Sometimes the weather's really nice. Sometimes grandma wants to take me for a couple days, or they were up late, they woke up a couple times throughout the night, or I woke up a couple times throughout the night with the baby, and we're just a little bit tired. But I think overall, we're excelling. And so what we're doing is working. So I have to give myself a little bit of grace and, go with the flow there. Number 4. This probably isn't a big deal for some people. For me, I am a lot more introverted. And so making sure we're socialized can be work. So finding play groups, finding like-minded people, whether that's secular or not, having those people be in your area and fit your schedule, and making sure you're consistent with it so that they can make friends with these kids, it takes a little bit of work. And my main outlet for that has been finding Facebook groups in my area, and it's gone really well. We found quite a few groups that we meet with, and some of them are really close and some of them are 30 or 40 minutes away, which can get a little tough to be consistent with. But we found them. So yeah, and then a little like sidebar to that is like just me being an introvert and being like, okay guys, like let's all pack in the car and go, and like, you know, you guys go play and have friends, great, but then like I have to socialize too, and I want to make friends with other moms, but it's a little bit daunting sometimes, to put yourself out there. And I don't know, I feel like the people that get it will get it. And my number 5 that I have learned my first year of homeschool is that having my kids home is better than I ever thought it would be. I am so happy that I get to do this. I'm so thankful I get to do this. I love seeing my kids every single day and growing stronger as a family, and seeing my kids grow and flourish with their learning and growing our bond stronger and seeing their personalities grow. And I don't know, I mean, I get to watch them jump around and find frogs, and I get to just do all these things all day long every day. And I mean, I have other things I do. I work a full-time job too and stuff, but just having them home with me every single day has just been really better than I thought it would be. When my first grader was going to start kindergarten, we did plan to do public school, and we did orientation and we signed him up and everything, and it was kind of a last minute decision, and I thought so hard about it. And I'm a list maker. I made lists, I made pros and cons, and like, can I do this? Can I teach somebody how to read? Potty training was hard. Can I teach somebody to read realistically? So it was a tough decision, and my bottom line was like, I want to see him every day. I don't want him to be gone for most of the day and just be home for like bath, dinner, bed. I felt awful that I have a full-time job, but it's pretty flexible, and I can be with the kids and then do work and then put the baby for a nap and then do work and, you know, stuff like that. And so I felt bad sending him off for like 40 hours a week, essentially a full-time job where I wouldn't get to see him at all. And I don't know, it just didn't feel right. And I think a lot of other people do it for different reasons. But for me, that was my bottom line. I wanted to see him more. I didn't want him to be gone all day. And I think it was a great decision for us. I think it was the best decision. I struggled so much with it. And then when I made that final call and I called the school and said, oh, we're actually going to do homeschool, I just felt this like weight lifted off my shoulders and this like immense happiness. And I was like, this should have been such an easier decision, judging by like how happy and like relieved I feel right now. And yeah, I mean, I can't see us going back. I want to do this as long as we possibly can, as long as the kids want to also do homeschool. But yeah, we love it. It was a little bit rambly, but that is the 5 things that I learned in my first year of homeschooling.